let's get started. Welcome everyone. We are recording, so please feel free to turn off your cameras if you are not comfortable at being recorded. Welcome to our Fashion Roundtable today. We're really excited to host this panel on such an important topic about the intersection of fashion and technology as we all think about sustainability goals and, of course, shopping. It's great to see some familiar faces, but for those of you who don't know us, I want to just say a couple of words about who we are at the fourth floor. The fourth floor is on a mission to increase the number of women on boards and cap tables. We are hacking the system and providing a place for women to initiate and advance for-profit board careers, earn equity, and invest. And we are doing this by tapping into the underleveraged value of women entrepreneurs. We are also all about helping women entrepreneurs access funding and growth opportunities by leveraging advisory and governing boards and our backroom investment plug. If you are looking for a board position or are a founder interested in finding advisors and building out your boards, please join us and apply. I will drop the link in the chat shortly. FYI, we do have a special promotion right now for women founders. If you list at least one board opportunity on your application, you can qualify for a $1 membership for the first year, so that's really exciting. And speaking of links, we love to get people connected. So if you're interested in connecting with anyone here, please feel free to drop your LinkedIn link into the chat. And we also love to give our members visibility opportunities to talk about their passions. So here we are, excited to welcome 5 members from our community, 4 founders building amazing and cutting edge solutions, and Sarah Stein, who is a seasoned professional in the beauty and apparel space and who will be moderating this conversation today. So I will now turn this over to Sarah to introduce herself and the panelists. Take it away, Sarah.
Oh, thanks, Kat. So I'm very excited to introduce our panel. We have Yasmin Topia. She's a serial deep tech entrepreneur and former partner at Post Urban Ventures, where she helped create AI startups that are all now venture capital backed and valued at over $50 million. With Associate, she combines her love for her love and passion for fashion, shopping, and AI. We have Thu Do, who is a creative tech entrepreneur in New York. She leads Tayloroo Collective, which is a community of independent researchers and designers helping humanity-driven startups. Thu founded Taylor, an augmented reality measurement tech to help tailors connect virtually with their customers, and she's also on the adjunct faculty at MICA. Cricket Lee is a thought leader for inclusion and sustainability in fashion. She created a new ready-to-wear universal fit by shape system. It serves both big fashion brands and the consumers. This new scientific approach to fit is called Botaski, and it eliminates size from the whole purchase decision, so customers only see what will fit them and what's in stock. Nina Nikolic is the founder of TAS, a 3D digital product development service for small and medium-sized apparel brands and manufacturers who need to transition from analog to digital in the clothing development process. Her background includes extensive experience in design, technical design, and production processes for apparel product development and manufacturing. So as we all know, the growth of e-commerce has intensified sustainability issues in fashion. 60% of e-commerce consumers purchase 2 sizes and return 1. 40% of clothing sold on Amazon is returned, and 46% of these returns are because of fit and sizing issues. This 46% is also true outside of Amazon. In New York City alone, we collect 200,000 tons of fashion waste each year, and this is only 6% of the planet. But we do have some good news. It is interesting to see how fashion tech is improving the consumer experience and also driving sustainability. So that is our good news. So let's start at the beginning of the customer journey. Yasmin, so right now, shopping can feel like a challenging research assignment. How is this evolving through AI?
So first of all, I'd like you to think about your best shopping experience in real life and what that felt like, and then compare that to the experience you have of shopping online. and immediately you feel like, and you know, it's worlds apart. So on one hand, when we step into our favorite stores, it's social, it's engaging, you have conversations with the sales assistant, they make us feel looked after, they bring things to us that they know that you like, they take the time to find out more about us. And then you've got online, which is that pretty standard e-commerce grid that we're all very familiar with. You fall into that rabbit hole of clicking and searching. It's the opposite of social. It's actually very isolationary. You kind of go down into that tunnel vision. You can spend hours, often days, which is madness in my view, because fashion is all about being social. It's all about that creativity and that interaction. So what's really exciting is that now you have really exciting advances and progress in AI, both in the field of computer vision and natural language processing, where you can actually feel, and I can actually feel, that it's all about to change. And there are some key tech and behavioral trends that are really driving this. So first of all, from the technology side, generative AI models and transformers, they are bringing the potential for us to be able to have much more natural and engaging conversations with AI. So gone are the days, or going are the days of those bot interactions that you are all familiar with, where the conversation hits a dead end and you want to bash your head against the The second trend is this huge buzz that we've actually seen in the last 2 months around the metaverse. Everybody is now talking about Web3, and there's this acceleration around people working on technologies and a platform, but creating virtual stores where all these other exciting technologies that the ladies here will also talk about can live on. And so this world that we are moving to, this metaverse, brings real potential for much more interactive experiences. The third is just Gen Z behaviors, right? The way that they want to interact, it's far more demanding. It's in a good way. They want it to be multisensory. They love sharing images. They love communicating with voice. They're not going to accept this click and scroll way of interacting that we've had to live through. And then the fourth trend is greater personalization, where we are rightly moving into a direction where we celebrate and recognize individuality and diversity, and that needs to be reflected in how customers talk to us and the services they offer us. And so if you take all of these things together, that's really why, with my company, Associate, why we created it and why we're working in this way. So what we are doing is we're developing proprietary AI to create self-aware AI shopping assistants that can see and that they are able to speak as well. So what you have are these agents that have real emotions and a self-awareness and internal goals where they want to help you. So they genuinely want to help you. And their emotions around how they are feeling in a conversation, whether they are helping you, whether they are unsure, all of that is reflected back in their voice. So those interactions, they don't feel robotic anymore. They feel authentic, they feel real. And you build collaborative communications and collaborative conversations where you want to share more information about what you want, and you want to have discussions. Just in the same way you'd have, you go into a store and there's good sales assistants. They know exactly the questions to ask you. They know how to ask them to you. And it's that relationship you build that eventually gets you over the line, where you might actually be a bit unsure about some things, but you can be persuaded.
Jordan has the car keys to the other car.
Ooh.
Oh,
Sorry, but somebody needs to be muted. Keep going. Sorry, Yasmin.
And so, so in the future, what I see is, like, with this type of technology, that if you see an advert or something you like, immediately you should be able to engage. with conversation. I like that, you know, just like you see somebody in real life where they're wearing a bangle, you're like, kind of, I love that bangle. And that's how we interact with people. That's how we build relationships. And then you find out more about that item. Then you are kind of guided onto a store or a web store where, again, that conversation can continue. And so I've just talked about the customer experience side of things, and what this panel here will talk about AI in how it was going to transform every aspect of shopping. So the exciting reality is that these advances in AI will change things from design, give us so much more freedom and personalization there, to pattern creation, to manufacturing, to supply chain management and logistics, to even, I've seen some cool companies out there creating avatars for online try on, to your dimension, you know, the fun that you can start having there, as well as this much more interactive shopping experience, which is replicating what you want to experience in real life.
That's great, Yasmin. That is super exciting. And that's a truly personalized experience that serves the consumer and the brand. Now I'm going to segue to Thu. So tell us how artisans can communicate and deliver their craft in the digital age, because traditionally you really have to be physically together to have good results.
Yeah, for sure. And what I love about what Yasmin just talked about is personalization. I think for us, in a world where technology, especially artificial intelligence, are accelerating and can replace a lot of what human can do, it is actually our mission to preserve and advance what is truly and uniquely human. And for us, right, that's all the wonderful craft and all the skill set that an artisan or a maker can bring to the table. You know, I come from Vietnam, a country full of silk making and embroidery and tailoring, right? And those crafts are disappearing because we're not investing in the technology that would help those makers truly bring the skill that they have to market. And it's not like the market is not demanding it, right? I think 33% or even 35% of customers will say that they would prefer getting something custom made for them. Really, the barrier is in price, affordability, right? And access to those services. So what we've been doing is to partner with tailors, and I see Yancy on the call here. She's one of our partners. She has a wonderful tailoring business, Tux Couture, and she makes these beautiful tucks that are handmade and fit to the body, right? One of the challenges, and you asked about this, Sarah, especially in the pandemic, is if you can't measure your customer right then and there, what do? If you live 25 miles outside of, you know, your customer's house, what would happen? So the kind of technology that we are creating is specifically to help tailors such as Yancy and others to connect directly with their customers. Things like using augmented reality to help them measure or, you know, connect directly with their customer by measuring their body remotely. Things like Instagram plugin that would help capture their custom orders requirements. Things that seem so simple, but would help the artisans really bridge the gap between physical and digital. And if I believe that if we can do this, you know, using technology to really help bridge some of these gaps and help these artisans connect with their customer virtually, then anybody would actually choose to go more of the custom route that fit perfectly to their body, that looks beautiful, and that's one of the kind, right? Who wouldn't want that? So yeah, that's our point of view on this.
No, that's amazing. Those clothes will definitely be cherished. But to expand to a broader perspective, Cricket, tell us how a large retailer can improve fit to reduce returns and waste. Oh, Cricket, you're on mute.
Okay, sorry about that.
We hear you.
Okay, so I've been studying women's bodies for 20 years and testing inside the industry, and actually proved to eliminate fit-related returns and bracket purchases from the purchase on about 250,000 of one black pant. And so the thing that I've learned is that the main problem in shopping online today and big stores and online is that the fit problem is really our problem and not the fashion brands. So it's still up to us to look for something that might fit, and we feel bad about ourselves when we have to keep trying on. So like Tu and Nina, they're working on more customized approaches to women so they can find their own particular fit and their own particular style that they like. What I've been focused on is the mass, the volume, the big brands that are making millions of pair of pants or tops or dresses. And so it's, since the fashion industry is really still using fit standards that were established in 1952, it is like they have one fit model and then they use grading and so forth. And it's not really the way our bodies change, as I've discovered. So my vision is that the only solution is a universal fit by shape to replace size, and for the big brands to quit competing with each other in a different fit in every brand. So it's like a one-click purchase. You would be able to have your own body calculator. I mean, you would be able to find your fit online, and then you would have a body code that would be connected to the patterns that work for your body. So the manufacturers would be making clothing and know they're making clothing specifically for you. So it's a very much custom-like experience for the big box retail, and enables like entertainment connections and streaming and so forth, where you just have the one click. So it's going to make a difference from that perspective. And so my vision really is to, over time, and it won't be everybody, you know, maybe even just a percentage, will quit competing with each other in the area of fit and eliminate the fit related returns and so forth. So it really, we've proven that it makes really happy shoppers when they don't have to try on clothes anymore, and when they are able to look in the future and only see what fits them online or in a store, only be able to look at what's going to fit their body automatically. It's going to change how they shop for clothing.
Or wonder what their size is. There's nothing more demoralizing than a different size.
Right. Well, we don't use size. We eliminate size totally. So we assign your body, and you don't have to. We hold the customer in our profile online, and then we connect you into manufacturers that are making clothing for you that fit you. So size is all over the place, so you can't really standardize size. We had to throw it out and start over. So women were really happy about this idea, and it was hard for me to get adoption, and it took me a long time. We're finally getting adoption from big brands, so we're excited. It probably will launch in 2023, but you know, that's my vision, and I'm going to stay with it until I get it done. So,
no, I love that. I mean, it's the consumer's dream and ideal for the brand. So Nina, adoption is critical. How can a brand innovate while continuing to grow their business? We have this great technology. It just needs to be adopted. How can we take it there?
Well, innovation by its own definition is a new idea or the process of introducing a new idea, devices, procedures, etc., etc. So if we are thinking and talking about innovation, it's happening on a daily basis, even hourly basis, right? And it comes when we attempt to see the things or problems differently and find solutions in a different way. So could be something very simple as finding the way to make our daily tasks more manageable, or just change our way we go travel to work. It's innovative way of finding the way and making it more interesting and different and new. So the innovation starts in our minds, and it's definitely triggered by perception of the problem, of the object we look at. So if our perception or the way we look at that problem changes slightly, we have a different perspective. With a different perspective comes the new idea. And with that, innovation is triggered and started to work out. Although circumstances have not changed or everyday surroundings have not changed. So this general kind of idea could be applied to a new technology that are present in today's fashion. And they're very valuable and powerful technology. And we call it a tech wonderland, right? However, if we see them as instant solutions to our long embedded problems, it is not going to work, ever. Just because we are enchanted by their potential? No. However, if you see them slightly differently, possibly as tools that we can actionably actually apply to ideation and execution of the solution, then we can perhaps set the path that we can use and walk to the future, including the metaverse. So what I'm saying, we cannot jump straight into the future and just cutting off our legacy and what we know and all knowledge that our current technologies are based on. So we need to bridge them and find a starting point that is actionable and execution possible and successful. Otherwise, it's just a tool that we don't know how to use.
No, it's too overwhelming. So it's the little steps that help you go
Exactly.
to the bigger picture and adjustment. No, that's great. So this all feels very high touch and changes how the consumer feels. And, you know, sustainability and mental health are especially critical right now. What are the barriers and how do we spark adoption? And I'm going to start with Nina. Reverse order. Oh, you're on mute. It's okay.
Sorry. How do we start? Perhaps we should start with defining the problem that can be diagnosed. Because once and only once the core issues are clearly defined and communicated in a way that everybody can actually hear and understand what is being articulated, we can move on to set a solid foundation and lay out for actionable options for the first step that should be taken and consequently executed successfully.
No, that makes total sense. Total sense. Cricket, same question. Barriers and how do we overcome them and get it going?
Well, I would say, first of all, people have to not be complacent. They have to demand and support change and speak up and support people who are wanting to make change in the universe. I know during my testing periods, I always had to start a movement, and it always worked because women would come after it. But women are going to have to demand it. I was on today's show, I'm going to say 2008 or something, after I tested with Nordstrom, Macy's, and QVC, and Kate White, who was with Cosmo, said, well, the problem is women don't accept things the way they are, and they don't demand change. When women demand change, then the change will happen. So I think she was supporting what I was doing. It's like, if you want change, you're going to have to help make it happen, because we usually don't speak up, especially now. We can't really speak up about things as we'd like to. So I'd say that's the main thing, is speaking up and supporting innovation.
No, I love that. And I think now is especially the moment with the whole sense of body positivity, and we all have our own shape, which is fine. Too, tell me what you think is the barrier and how do we drive adoption?
Yeah, I love this question because I think there are multiple facets to it, and I tend to go a bit more practical. So I think in order for change to happen, three different groups need to participate. The customer, the brand, on the brand side, the company side, and then for us, the artisan and the maker. I think from a consumer side and the maker standpoint, the technology have to be so easy to use. A lot of the makers, have high barrier to technology, understandably so, because their craft has existed for thousands of years, and they're good because of that, So this is the problem that we try to deal with the most at Taylor. So I run a researcher and designer group focusing specifically on humanity-driven projects such as this, such as helping artisans and makers with technology. And our main problem to solve is how can we make technology so usable and so simple and to mimic almost like real life experiences. To Yasmin's point, actually, at the beginning of this conversation, when you go shopping, you should feel like a personalized experience, even if you're using an AI powered tool. I'm stealing the thunder, but I think that technology is so cool. So with us as well, let's take an example of the Taylor AR, which is a measurement tool that allows customer to measure their body by essentially tapping your phone at 2 points on your body. From a customer standpoint, they might look at that technology and say, oof, I don't know about this. This looks dangerous, or I've never done this before. So how can we guide them through that experience? And then from an artisans and maker standpoint is answering the question, is my customer are going to be able to do it or use this, or is the result that I get back match with the quality that I expect? So with Taylor specifically, the accuracy needs to be within like a quarter of the inch of their, measurement, the actual measurement. And that could be totally doable when they, measure with a tape measured by themselves. But with technology, what's the assurance, right? I think that is something that we need to keep in mind, the usability of technology. And then I think there's something that maybe Cricket would deal, and Nina actually would deal more with this as well, is to find ways for fashion industry partners and companies to collaborate. I think these days everybody is trying to innovate, but nobody's really sharing as much. Data is very expensive to produce and to so that everybody's hoarding data basically. But in order to for innovation to happen, especially in AI, artificial intelligence and computer vision, we need a lot of data. So one of the groups that I'm a part of, Open Circle Apparel Coalition, I'm going to drop a link in the chat. Our mission is then to create an open source framework that allows partners and companies to contribute and benefit from data, specifically measurement data. And so together, I think, if we are open to collaborate, I feel like we can solve this problem in a more efficient and well, it's the only way to solve the problem, really.
No, I agree. Collaboration is always the answer. Yasmin, tell us how we overcome barriers and drive adoption.
So I can't agree more with Thu about the usability aspect of AI and technology itself. So here I am talking about that customer and AI interaction online to make it as easy as possible. And with anybody that has dealt with any type of technology or AI solution on the client side will know there's a whole heap of effort that goes into training and building these bots and keeping them continuously maintained so that they don't become frustrating. And so again, like I am so passionate about creating a solution that's not just easy for customers, but it's easy for people in e-commerce teams, marketing teams, web teams to be able to use to create bots. And really how I see this type of technology really kind of skyrocketing is if we make AI training as easy as it, so take an AI sales assistant, how would you train a real life sales assistant? You'd sit them down, you'd talk to them, you'd give them the cues and the information you'd need, and they synthesize that, and then they use their own skills, their own awareness, their own knowledge to turn that into their pitch, and their ability then to interact with customers. And that's really kind of where I see creating AI people and training AI, it needs to be that easy, and that's what I'm really striving for. So that's the usability aspect. I think nearer term, there are more practical barriers around the skills available, the number of people that have the skills, the education. So already there's and I know I've tried to recruit people in the field of NLP that can help me with this work, and it's just it's so hard to find the right skills. So I would say that if we want to make this a reality, we all have a responsibility around identifying our best talents if we're brands and if we are a technology team, and helping upskill them, creating programs, and really focusing on the expertise and the skills required in visual tech, in AI, in also the creative side of things, because technology will automate the standard stuff, but the creativity, we need to invest in that as well, so that we have exceptional creators to pair with this amazing technology. So that's the recruitment side. And then I think something that we almost forget around a lot of this technology is the compute. So for me to dream about all of this stuff, even 3 years ago, it would have been an impossibility because of the price and the cost of compute. And that is now, it's every year it's halving. So these technologies will become scalable, they will become accessible and usable for businesses in the next 2 years. And that's another really exciting thing. I think what we all need to think about is actually the sustainability. So compute doesn't come from anywhere. There's a cost and an environmental cost as well to compute. And so there's excitement, but we're almost creating new problems as well at the same time that we do need to be thinking about. So we're solving our old problems, we're creating new problems. And it's so really, really important that we have an eye on that, and we don't go too far too quickly like we have in the past, especially, conversations around social media and all that kind of thing, that we take our eye off potentially the problems we are birthing alongside the solutions.
No, I agree 100%. I think we all do. Yasmin, the first question is for you. So iOS 14 has brands scrambling and third-party tracking is coming to an end. How are you solving this new reality? Just, tell us a little. People are a little scared. I think you can help solve it.
So I'm a little bit biased, but I think the first and easiest way to solve this probably is creating technology and implementing technology that allows you as a brand to get to know your customers as quickly and efficiently and engage them as you would if you stepped into a store. So if you don't have that third-party tracking data, you don't have those profiles that you've built, how do you get to know someone? You ask them the right questions, you engage them in conversation. So that's the first method. I think there's also another which actually fits in a little bit around what Cricket is talking about at Botasai, where people can own their own profile around not just their body shapes, but likes, dislikes, and they can have that held somewhere and then give permissions for brands to be able to access that when they want the brand to be able to access that. And so I'm not talking about creating a new Google that's just selling your data to here, there, and everywhere. That you should own their profiles, they should own the access, and they should be able to, at a point very easily, allow brands to be able to access that information, so that that customer experience and service can be then personalized to them.
No, I love that. So two, when you engage with your artisans, what is their first concern? Just because, as you discussed, this is a century-old practice, and bringing it to the new digital age, they're afraid of losing something.
Yeah, and I think we talk a lot about brands today, and we talk about mass and fast fashion and shopping, and I think for us, and I hear a lot from the makers that we partner with, you know, the humans' ability to make is what is unique, and we fundamentally believe that that's what's gonna keep us going in the new age. I talk about this new age as this crazy thing, you know, technology age. So I think we shouldn't lose sight of that, the ability to custom make and the ability to make for a unique body. So even when we are talking about gathering data and body measurement and making improvement to the manufacturing process, truly, when we get to a place where everyone can have an on-demand, you know, an example would be you walk into the store, they measure your body and a shirt will be spit out right then and there for you, right? On-demand, instant production. The question will become, so how would you differentiate from one brand to another, right? How would you make sure that the customer will choose that brand? And for us, it's really that human made and that artisans, for lack of better words, that imperfection is actually a strength. The fact that every garment is made uniquely and specifically for the person. Imperfect is not the right word, but a lot of people will think of it as, hey, it's not exactly like the shirts next.
It's perfect imperfection. It's wabi sabi, you know, like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the concerns is really don't forget about us and what truly make us unique and human. And then the second one, like I said before, is making technology so useful and so easy to adopt that it's almost a integration to their current process and not an addition. It is not a, it's an improvement to their process and not something extra that they have to do. And then thirdly, you know, a good maker will say that, hey, can my customer use this technology to connect with me? Is it useful and easy enough for them to adopt it? So in a way, they would worry about their customers adopting it even more than they themselves adopting it.
No, that's really helpful. And Yasmin, I'm thrilled you have a special guest, but we are switching on to Cricket. So Cricket, our question you received is, how did you discover shapes as an alternative approach to the one fit model system? I mean, you were really before your time in this one.
Yeah, I was like 20 years ahead of my time, but you know, you have a vision if you don't stop. Someday you can have it. So I'm living on that. So very interestingly, I met a woman named Mary Duffy, and she was the creator of the first ever modeling agency for big women. It was called Big Beauties, and Ford Models bought it. And she had become the executive director of Ford Models and their special sizes. And she had written this book called Hoax, and it was about 4 body types. And so I packaged her, I raised the money and I packaged her and I put her on HSN with merchandised garments with, you know, addressing shapes because she understood shapes. So after that, it was like a 3-year run on HSN. It was very successful. And so then I decided after that, wow, wouldn't it be cool if I could put body types into fashion? So I started trying to work with industry kind of standards, and I discovered they were antiquated and based on an hourglass shape because of the way fit was developed back in 40s and 50s, it was they took and averaged measurements from 25,000 or 15,000 25-year-old Caucasian women. So when they took those measurements out, it became
So much is
an
explained
hourglass.
now.
Huh?
I said, we understand so much now where it all came from.
Yeah. Okay. So okay. So I'll just say that I decided to throw out the book and started on doing patterns and start from scratch. And so the Bodisai is now being pitched into the industry. It's very consumer focused, as you said, and in deep tech and science related and so forth. So that's how I discovered the shapes and started working on them. But I really studied real women, and we fit on thousands of women. We don't use one fit model. So that's the main distinction of what we do and the industry does.
No, I love that. And it's across all cultures, because that's that makes a lot of sense. Nina, how do you diagnose the first step? How do you get things going? Because we all know it's all about adoption, and taking that first step can sometimes be the most challenging.
Yes, indeed. First, you need to know the order in your own house. So what needs to get done and what needs to get fixed. So again, going back to defining the problem and then diagnose the problem. Only then we can move forward to lay out the path or map out the next steps for finding solution and executing that solution. Most of the time, what I'm noticing, people do not fully understand the true potential of available technologies today, let alone how to apply them successfully. So considering today's environment and that we are constantly exposed to new information about new technology, about new beta tests of yet another app, and we still don't know what the previous app meant for us. Now we are jumping into NFTs and metaverses, not knowing exactly why do we need them now? What does it do for me right now? We all know technology is the future. AI is the future. But what we do with that right now? How can we bridge that yesterday again with the tomorrow? But today, why do we live in tomorrow, but not in today? So that's kind of my point of view.
No, I love that. I love that. And even though we started a little late, we are an efficient group. And so we're on time. And now I'm going to switch to our fun facts. So you've learned about our panelists, and now you get to learn something you wouldn't have ordinarily known. And it's interactive. So put your guesses in the chat. So I hope everyone can see my screen. So we have Cricket, Yasmin, Nina, and Thu. Can you guess which one the fashion icon was? Courtney Love, sang in a Riot Girl band, now buys and restores secondhand designer bags as a hobby. Okay, put your guess in. Now, someone else is a game maker, a vintage lamp restorer, a musician, stamp collector, road tripper, and an overall flawed but unique human. Then we have a singer. She opened the set for Willie Nelson with a 5,000 person audience. So that is a very brave act. And lastly, she started her career as a costume and set designer. The highlight, she painted costumes and made accessories for the touring Broadway show Cats. So that's super cool. So does everyone have their guesses in? Are we in? Okay, were you right? So Cricket sang with Willie Nelson. I think we with her awesome accent, we are not surprised. Yasmin's fashion icon was Courtney Love, and she sang in a Riot Girl band. Nina started her career as a costume and set designer with Cats, and Thu is a game maker and a vintage lamp restorer and stamp collector. So our panel has a lot of fun facts and multifaceted. With that, I'm going to hand it back to Kat.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Great and eye-opening conversation. Let me just unpin everyone real quick. Or I'll add myself to the spotlight. It was great to have you all here. We are definitely on our way to a very different shopping experience, it sounds like, and one for the better, I think. Thank you, amazing panelists. Love what you're building and now really understand how your innovation can help solve some of these pressing global issues. So now all we need to do is just make sure we get the access and funding that you guys need. Thank you so much, Sarah, for your excellent moderation and stimulating conversation. And everyone else, thank you all for joining. And please apply to the fourth floor if you haven't. We'd love to have you in our community. And follow us on LinkedIn and learn about our upcoming events. And stay tuned.